Hello and welcome to today's podcast on celebrating women and girls in science. I'm your host, Bianca, from the Givaudan HR communications team. So today we will talk to 3 inspirational women in science who will share their backgrounds and experience at Givaudan. Givaudan is a global industry leader creating game-changing innovation in food and beverages and inspiring creations in the world of fragrances and beauty. So let's meet our 3 leading women in science. First, we have Emilie from the Science and Technology team in Taste and Wellbeing. Hi, Emilie.
Hi, Bianca.
Great to have you on the show.
I'm very happy to be here.
Great. Then we have Caroline. Caroline is the head of sensory science in fragrances and beauty. Welcome, Caroline.
Thanks, Bianca. Hi, everyone.
Nice to have you on as well.
Great to be here. I'm really privileged to be asked to join this podcast.
Great. And last but not least, Lucy, who is an applied research intern in health and well-being. Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Bianca.
Thank you so much for all of you for joining us. We are so lucky to have you all here. So to start off, please tell us a bit more about yourselves. We want to know all about you. So what are your backgrounds and what exactly do you do in your roles at Givaudan? Caroline, would you like to start?
Sure. As Bianca said, my name's Caroline Jordan. I'm based in the UK in Ashford. I work in the Science and Technology team in the Fragrance and Beauty division. My role is leading the sensory science team. Basically, in a nutshell, what we do as a team is provide unbiased, objective performance data about fragrance and oral care products. So I've been with the company for 9 years now, loved every minute of it, had great opportunities as well with the company. My background is in biology. So I studied biology at the University of Bristol and then from there moved into the fragrance industry at Givaudan.
Great. Wow. Such an inspirational background. And Emilie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Bianca. My name is Emilie Fermentin. I am originally from France and I've lived in the US for a very long time. I studied biology as well, crossed with agronomy and analytical chemistry. I did part of my curriculum in France and my PhD in the US. So I now call the US home. And I've been with Givaudan for 10 years. Like Caroline, enjoyed every minute of it. It's been a great journey. I have used all my knowledge in pharmacology, biology, and analytical science to come together and create new products, new ingredients for the food and dietary supplement industry. And what we do here in the health and nutrition team is designing new ingredients that will fulfill a nutritional gap or help with specific health benefits. With my team, we work together on finding raw materials, understanding how to do extraction of botanicals effectively and sustainably, and then we go all the way to running clinical studies to better understand the effect of these ingredients on human health. So that's very fascinating, and I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm very lucky to work with a team of scientists who are extremely motivated and have a strong passion for science as well.
Great. Another amazing and impressive profile. Thank you, Emilie. And Lucy, what about yourself?
I'm Lucy Akini. I'm an applied research intern at Givaudan Science and Technology Department here in Ashford, UK. Also a recent graduate with a master's in cognitive neuroscience from the University of York. In Givaudan, my role, I'm mainly tasked with conducting scientific research for a variety of projects in order to potentially offer solutions for new technologies, improve wellness, and also solve problems.
Wow, fascinating. Now we know all about you. On this special day, we want to talk about women in science. So I want to address the significant gender gap that has persisted throughout the years at all levels of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, also known as STEM. Even though women have made tremendous progress towards increasing their participation in higher education, they are still underrepresented in these fields. For example, I saw some statistics from UNICEF that show in a large number of countries, girls have higher science marks compared to boys in high school. Yet, only 35% of STEM students in higher education globally are women. So I want to know what your opinions are on this. Why do you think this is?
I can take a start and then I'll be happy to hear what Caroline and Lucy think.
Yes, great.
You know, when looking at statistics, STEM goes a broad spectrum of core technologies and core fields. And definitely, I can see a gap in some parts of the science and technology fields that are more related to engineering and manufacturing. And those definitely would benefit from having more women interested in taking part at solving issues that are on the scale of processing and operations.
I agree with you, Emilie. I think we see the gap in the science field, but also more of the gap for me in the engineering and manufacturing. I think there's still stereotypes surrounding the different types of work. And if you think, especially for young girls, in terms of what's an engineer do, what do you do in manufacturing, it may come across as more sort of labour-based, and you need to be, strong and male when you're working in a male environment, which I think is a shame, really, because it's not the case. And I think women can excel in those areas. And the same for science. But I think if we think about science, there's different fields. So obviously you've got the chemistry, the biology, the physics element of it as well. And I wonder if we see a bit of a difference in terms of the male-female divide across the different sectors within science as well.
Yeah, I think that gender stereotypes are still a major concern. And what are your thoughts, Lucy?
Yeah, just thinking of what Emilie said, especially in the field of engineering, when it's a male-dominated field. I actually read on a lady who applied to do mechanical engineering, but when she entered the class and so majority of the class was filled with male, and actually she was the only lady in that class, and she ended up changing her course in engineering to something different. So it also begs the question of, do we have enough mentors in this different segment and different fields of science? And STEM is quite broad, from maths to technology, and it's quite broad to an extent that do people actually know about these courses to a point that, and there areas are there people they can look up to in these different environments.
Mm-hmm. That is so valid. But do you also think that there's a lack of role models in STEM fields? Because if I think right now, if you generally ask the public to name a female physicist or a female astronaut, there's generally a bit of hesitation to still name somebody off the top of your head. What are your opinions on that?
In certain fields, I'd say yes, there are fewer role models. And in certain fields, like especially with science, we're getting more and more women coming up and doing science-related courses. Like, look at COVID and COVID vaccine architects. Like, we have women like, Professor Sarah Gilbert, who led a team to develop AstraZeneca vaccine, and the team was filled with all women. And it makes it easier for younger girls like me to say, okay, in the field of science, we've seen these women pioneers doing all these amazing things, so that means I can also do it. And we're driven towards pursuing courses in the field of science.
Yes, I think that it's a great generation that there is so much more improvements in those fields now, that there are more role models, female role models.
Absolutely. And we also have recent examples like Emmanuelle Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna, who discovered the CRISPR technology, Emmanuelle Charpentier being awarded Nobel Prize in chemistry. So we see more and more of these figures and examples in our day-to-day life, or at least at the Nobel Prize every year.
And I also think, in terms of maybe often a little bit of a tangent, but I think it starts at school as well. So when you're thinking about what careers you want to take and what university courses is, the schools and have got to be able to drive that for women and use role models. And I think the example that Lucy gave for the really current one with COVID, I mean, COVID was a global pandemic, and the people that were behind some of the vaccines that really helped turn that around and helped us try and get back to more normal ways of living were women and led by women.
Yes, definitely. I think as well, males are assumed to be better than females in certain areas, for example, in maths or science. And I think that these expectations are lower than for girls, which also leads to lower self-confidence. And that's what I understand, that the lack of confidence that girls may have, they don't go into traditional male-dominated STEM careers then.
It reminds me a little bit also of my childhood and who was more fascinated about solving the Rubik's. And it is true that when I was younger, I had a lot more boyfriends who were interested in solving the Rubik's than girlfriends. So I think, yeah, to some extent there was, when I grew up, a little bit of this tendency to say that boys will be better at logic and mathematics. I think we also grew up in an environment where we could see things changing and we were pushed a little bit more probably than the previous generations by our teachers to say, okay, you can try and you can go ahead and do it. So I found myself in environments where I had teachers and probably parents who helped me believe in my abilities as well. I can recognize that too.
Yes, it's a great point, Emilie. So your teachers and your parents, they were clearly then your inspiration. So could you maybe tell us a bit more about who inspired you then to pursue a career in STEM? Was it mainly your parents and your teachers, or was there anyone else?
As a kid, I remember being very happy about receiving a microscope for Christmas. So probably I owe this to my parents because they picked up on the fact that I was a curious kid and pushed a little bit in this direction. In terms of outside influence, I do remember later in high school being fascinated by physics teachers, biology teachers, and the couple of teachers I have in mind right now were all female.
That's great to hear. And what about you, Caroline or Lucy?
I think for me, it was a mixture between my parents and my teachers. I mean, my parents were always super supportive of what I wanted to do. I think they could see from an early age that I was definitely more interested, enjoyed the science fields rather than English and sitting down and reading books. That wasn't me. And a little bit like you, Emilie, like for Christmas, I used to get, chemistry experiment kits for kids and loved it. I think I also owe a lot to my teachers. I know when I was thinking about what do I want to do at university, I knew I loved science, I knew I enjoyed science, but I didn't know exactly what field I wanted to go into. And I think at that time I was always thinking, I want to go into forensics, I want to do, crime scene investigation, and probably driven a little bit by the TV programs as well. But my chemistry teacher sat me down and said, maybe do a broader subject, because it doesn't mean you can't follow that particular path, but it might not be something that you definitely want to do in the future. And once he realised I wanted to go into biology and the chemistry field, the support was always there. He was always go that extra mile, never felt like, I'm a woman, so therefore I can't succeed in it. He pushed me to go to uni, to do biology as well.
Well, great stories that you all have. And what about you, Lucy?
I think just like Emilie and Caroline, obviously there were people around me that influenced me to actually pursue a career in one of the STEM courses. But actually where it all began was a visit to the hospital, and I was attended to by a female doctor wearing a lab coat. Then I was like, I want to wear one. And when she told me I have to do well in my sciences in high school, I knew that's the area I really need to excel in. And over time, I realized I have a knack for understanding human brain functions, which actually led me to pursue my undergraduate in psychology and later on just delve deeper into the field of behavioral science.
Great. So thank you so much for sharing your stories. We want to continue to celebrate you admirable and driven women representing STEM fields at Givaudan. So I want to know, what are your proudest moments in your career so far? I'm sure there are many, but just to mention a few.
The one thing I would say is any of the proud moments I have been achieved as a team. And when I look at the team in health and nutrition at Givaudan, We have a very good gender balance in the team, and I'm very proud of the scientists in my team who have succeeded in running very successful clinical trials. I'm very proud to see my team completing all the milestones and designing very differentiated ingredients that will provide the health benefits. Those are my proudest moments.
Yeah, I think for me, what I always really like is just being able to offer solutions, and finally we see these solutions actually getting to bring something fruitful. And being in Givaudan is like the backbone of continuously providing solutions to the ever-changing market. And with different projects I'm involved in, just being able to see the success and of those projects as they unfold, I think I'm always quite happy with that.
I think for me, in the team we work on a lot of different projects supporting the business and supporting the research, but it's seeing those projects come to a conclusion and seeing the products being launched on the market as well. So things from, deodorants to fabric conditioners, you see it in the supermarkets. When you're walking around doing your shopping, if you're with your family or your friends, and you turn around and say to them, "Oh, I worked on that," because I think sometimes people don't realise how much goes in behind creating a great fragrance, and the fragrance be so much more than a smell. It can help improve people's well-being, and I think that's really important. And it's just I'm really proud to be a part of that journey, to be able to help people and I guess to educate people as well in terms of what goes into products.
Yes. So very proud moments that you all shared. So I want to know one last thing. What really makes your work exciting at Givaudan? So what inspires you or motivates you to get out of bed each morning and go do your role each day?
For me, I love the variation in my role. I love the freedom to explore. And I think that's something really great in the science field is, part of what we're doing is researching and looking for new opportunities, and it allows us to be creative. It allows us to explore new concepts, maybe some concepts that are a bit risky and a bit outside of the box, but you've got the freedom to do that. And then to actually see those ideas come to fruition and, create new technologies or be launched in terms of products is brilliant for me.
Mm-hmm. I would say the same too. And also the fact that I read lots of scientific journals, and every day and every time you get to read a new paper that has been published, and it's always interesting to see how does this journal influence a particular project or a particular development of a technology, or how does it help to improve wellness in a particular situation. And in such cases, there are moments we get research paper that is always gives us a eureka moment. We're trying to solve a solution or trying to improve a product, for example. So it's always for me, waking up in the morning, just going through doing my work. It's more of is today am I going to get a eureka moment? So it pushes me every single day.
That's wonderful. Very energizing indeed. And I think what really gets me out of bed and gets me motivated is to think that together we are going to do one step further to building a strategy that's going to work, or coming together with an idea that's going to push a technology that's going to make a difference. And like Caroline mentioned, there's a bit of risk, and being able to understand where do we want to invest in science and technology that's the most moderate risk possible, that's going to deliver a disruption for the company, is something that's extremely rewarding.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Emilie, when you were saying about making a difference. And I think from all of us, what we've said, I think we truly believe we can make a difference, and we do make a difference in the field that we work in as well.
I love that. I really like all your motivational stories, how motivated you are each day. So time goes really fast when you're having an interesting discussion, but we have unfortunately already reached our last question. So what words of wisdom would you give young girls to study and pursue a career in STEM?
For me, I'll encourage a change in mindset and advocate for confidence and self-belief. I think confidence lies at the baseline of everything we do, and confidence is what drives us to make that selections of the different science programs or different technology programs or the maths programs. And confidence is what will make you stick by that course and look for whatever resources you need, for whichever mentors you need, and that will help you in excelling in a particular area. And confidence is also what will push you towards pursuing a further career in that area. So I'll say develop that confidence and self-belief in yourself and in your capabilities. And remember, confidence is not the absence of fear. Fear has to be there for confidence to also dwell.
Very inspiring, Lucy. And confidence and courage, I totally agree with you. One advice I would give is also try to call somebody you know who's done a career in STEM, or a friend of a friend, or if you're at the university level, reach out to your alumni group and try to figure out what they do on the job. Because actually the first internship you take can be quite decisive in your career. So I would ask questions and talk to people and based on those discussions, figure out what you really like and then go for it.
I agree. Those conversations need to be had.
And for me, I'd say if you enjoy science and you're thinking about going into the field, do it. Take that leap. Don't let stereotypes hold you back. I think it's probably easier said than done, but what you don't want is to regret not going into something you enjoy just because someone says you can't or you think you can't. I think, as Emilie says, talking to people that are in that field, talk to people you trust, so your friends, your family, your teachers. I think anything in STEM just gives you such great foundational skills and transferable skills as well. So do something you enjoy. I think that's really important because at the end of the day, we're going to be working for a long time. And I think you can give more and you'll get out more of your career if it's something you enjoy as well.
That's so true. So I'm feeling very inspired right now by all of you, and I'm sure our audience is too. Thank you, ladies, for sharing your positive stories and for joining me in this podcast to celebrate Women and Girls in Science Day.
Thank you all. It was great talking to you all, and I really appreciate this time to get our stories across as well.
Thank you, Bianca.
Thank you so much. It was great to participate.